I am 47 and my wife is 45. We have been married for 22 years. We have 3 children, a 20-year-old boy and 2 girls, 18 and 16. On September 11, 2001, my wife scheduled to meet a man she met online in a hotel room not too far from our house. They obviously intended to have excess. They have been texting and sending pictures back and forth for months before they planned to meet up. Back then, we just got married 2 years earlier, and our son was not even yet 1 year old. Crazy enough, the only thing that stopped her from going was the attack on the World Trade Center. Her uncle was on the 84th floor South Tower, which all but guaranteed that he died on impact. As you all would remember, the entire country was mourning, and she really took it hard. I felt sympathy for her, and I was there to console her. Then, after some crying and hesitation, she felt so guilty that she confessed to me what she planned on doing earlier that day, saying that she regretted it and changed her mind. She apologized and showed me proof that it didn't get past the emotional stage, and they haven't reached the excess part yet. Before the confession, I had a gut feeling that my wife was up to something, but I had no clue that she was having an emotional affair. And it shocked me because I thought she wasn't that type of person. She grew up in a sheltered household, wasn't allowed to party or drink or go on dates, and has always felt like she missed out. When we started our relationship, she told me that I was the first guy she's been with, and I believed her. But after her confession on September 9/11, I wasn't so sure. If she would go this far, then what else was she hiding? If it wasn't for Osama bin Laden, she'd probably be in a cheap motel, having excess with a man she met online, and I would never know about it. The fact that she came clean without me having to find out contributed to my willingness to reconcile, contingent on her getting some counseling. Moreover, I saw no proof that she had a physical affair. I remembered how the entire experience crushed me. My world had ended, and I had a son that was not even a year old. The person who I trusted more than anyone else in the world destroyed that trust out of some sense of self-pity. She sought counseling as agreed, was remorseful, and did all the right things. It took a long time, but eventually the pain dissipated and became a memory. Trust, though, is like a sheet of clean white paper. Out of the pack, it is pristine, almost elegant. When it's damaged, it becomes deformed. With infidelity, it's like crumpling it up into a ball. You can smooth it out and it will largely restore, but never to the purity of newness. Trust, I had personal issue with her ever since. Even when I was comfortable with how the reconciliation had progressed, I would still have to check on my own, just to be sure. And she passed those checks. I guess that smoothed it out some, but it was never perfect again. Then 19 years later, on October 14, 2019, with 2 more beautiful children later, I had a gut feeling. I hate gut feeling. Or to be more accurate, I hate having them. One Monday morning, she had a blow up with our older daughter, 18, in which our older daughter said some nasty things to her in the morning before school. Later that day, I made the mistake of playing with the dog and making my daughter laugh. My wife, still very upset from the morning, stormed out because of it. The first thing I noticed is that she turned her Find My Location sharing off on her phone. As a family, we keep it on, so we know where each of us are. Turning it off gave me a gut feeling. The trust that I had never been fully restored needed a little booster shot of check and verify. So I kept trying to find an opportunity to check her phone, computer, and anything else I thought might be helpful. The next day, we had to take our youngest to the post office to get a passport for a school field trip. She works at my daughter's school, so she drove her there, and I met them there. We both had to be there. She was aloof during the time we waited, saying nothing but walking away every few minutes to do something with her phone. She was texting someone. I made a mental note to try and get her phone and check it out. Usually, she leaves her phone around the house. Lately, she's been taking it with her everywhere. Another punch in the gut feeling. Wednesday, we bought her an iPad to use at work, and I set it all up for her. We talked about it a couple of times prior, so it was no surprise when she said she wanted to do this. This too became a constant carry around the house. One time, she went out and left the iPad on the counter, so I tried to check it out and found out she locked it with a passcode. A little surprised. We don't usually passcode our devices. She said it was because she was typing some sensitive student-related things on it. That actually made sense to me, but it was still possible that she was doing other things with it as well. Friday, we met at the bank to close on a home equity loan to do some work on the house. We drive back home and she tells me she had to run an errand. I looked into the check-ins account, so I found out that one of those errands was to stop at an adult store and buy some things. Radar up. I looked for those items when I had the chance. It was a very nice piece of lingerie. Now, our excess life had been pretty stagnant and virtually non-existent due to her lack of excess drive. She talked to her doctor about it, and I found some websites she had surfed to with information on lack of female excess drive. So this made me curious. Something inspired me. I tried to monitor what I could, and finally, I got the passcode to her iPad while she was out with our daughter. I was checking into it, and a Facebook message appeared from some guy who asked her to send her a picture of her. Now, the app said they weren't friends on Facebook, so I thought maybe it was some random guy. But she responded as if she knew him. The texting became graphically XOR almost instantly. And when he suggested she dropped her daughter off and head over, she said, and I quote, "My stories aren't set up like that," close quote. Instead of hanging on to this information and its source so I could get a clearer picture, I wound up confronting her about it that evening. Big mistake. Too soon, because she lied about it and took the affair underground. She claimed the lingerie was for us. She was trying to build up the courage to wear it for me. She claimed the guy on FB was someone she worked with over the summer and that he started messaging her out of the blue. She also swore that there was no physical contact, just texting. I want to believe that, but I had a hard time with it. I told her it had to end completely and immediately. She agreed. I asked her the next day if it ended, and she said it did. She didn't know that I was able to see the messaging with him through other means, and that she had told him that she had to get him off Facebook because I had been asking questions. So she lied. And here I am. After 19 years, it's happening again. My emotions are such a jumble right now. I can't eat or sleep, and I have a hard time concentrating. I started counseling for myself later this week, and I have been hitting the gym more frequently too. This sucks. I don't want to do this. I have read the 180 almost daily since D-Day. I actually pulled it off fairly well for a couple of days, but today was just a bad one. I got almost no sleep last night. Our son, we have 3 kids, 1 son prior to the first affair, 2 daughters after, bought us some tickets today. He works at a local theater, and we went to come from away. We had to pretend all was great. It was a spontaneous gift from him. At 20, he's a hell of a kid, and we didn't want to disappoint him by not going or being less than enthusiastic about it. If you're not familiar with the show, it deals with a story about 9/11/2001 attack. You may have noticed D-Day number 1 was 9/11/2001. As much as I was looking forward to see the show when we got the ticket prior to D-Day number 2, the heavy reference to that date and time, combined with the fresh opening of that wound, made it difficult to sit through. Another time, another place, I would have enjoyed. Today, I wanted to be out of the theater from almost the start. I kept a journal of observation, date, times, and my thoughts. I have come up with a mantra of sorts. Keep cool, keep patient, keep control. I know I need to be more consistent, but it's something I have been trying to get to. I have gotten into a better headspace now. We have to do some shopping tonight, and I wish to practice the 180 to my best ability. Flash forward to July 3rd, 2021. My investigation uncovered that her contact with other men had been through summer school program in which she works as a teacher's aide. He's the gym teacher. Affair partner is 32 years old. Wayward wife is 47. Makes her a cougar, I guess. Affair partner is a gym teacher at a nearby school, and his wife works at a school, not the same one, and not even in the same district. Wayward wife met him while they were working at summer school. Summer school here is run in a few districts. Teacher and staff apply who are interested. So folks from different districts who would otherwise never work together are working together. I found out he will be there again. I said nothing. She doesn't know that I know, and began to observe. I wind up catching a Facebook message from her to him with very suggestive content. He blew her off though, which actually made me chuckle. I have actually come to believe he sees her as a friend and doesn't want to get involved with her. She's 47 and about 15 years older than he is. I base this on some of the messages from the previous episode. She told me I would be on an overnight camping trip, and he never responded to that. When she told her I have found out, she told her we are friends a few times, but she didn't seem to want to hear that. Anyway, I am not completely done yet, but I can see it from here. Given the magnitude of the life change, I need to know. I am setting up my Intel network, voice-activated recorder, GPS, electronic passcode, and etc. I want as close to incontrovertible proof as I can have before I pull the trigger. I have also been reading up on and taking notes on divorce laws in my state. I will be contacting lawyers as well. I have a few friends who have been recently divorced, and I will be hitting them up for any advice too. Then I conspicuously collected some DNA samples from my 3 children to make sure that they are mine, just for peace of mind. By far the hardest thing that I have ever done. Regardless of the results, I will love them unconditionally. As to what I'm waiting for, well, I go from F it, we're done, to, well, maybe, often enough, that I know I have to have it hit me in the face hard enough, and it hasn't yet. I also feel like I don't want to put my kids through it, even though they are older, unless it's pretty cut and dry. This is part of me that ghoulishly enjoy hearing her on the voice-activated recorder bitch about the latest development. He unfriended a lot of people in the last days or two. Yes, I snooped there too, and she's not too happy about it. And I know this isn't going to go over well, but she's been going through what I call a midlife crisis over the last year or so. She also lost her mom back in November, and we are having the funeral tomorrow. She's also taking it very hard. 2 days after her mom passed, we lost my dad. Over the next 3 weeks, she lost 2 more relatives. Then it was Christmas. So my family has been hit hard with a lot of tragedy recently. I know that is affecting her deeply. So somewhere in the back of my mind, I felt maybe there's a chance that this is a symptoms of those events. And maybe I want to create a little more space between the losses we suffered and the pain that a divorce would create. I guess I'm willing to take one for my kids and other family members, suck it up, and hold out a bit longer before pulling the trigger. I am dragging myself to the finish line here. It's not easy after 26 years together to just give up, and the depth of the love I have for this woman over most of the length of our marriage has been almost frightening. I can't argue with that. My plan is to spend this week checking out divorce attorneys. We have a birthday party for my daughter next Sunday. After that, I'm going to confront her. I don't know exactly what I'm going to say, but I will tell her I have an attorney shopped. Hopefully, I have found one I would use by then, and I'm ready to press the divorce button. While I would love for her to have a come to Jesus moment, I am not willing to continue the marriage after I have collected all the evidence to prove that she's having an affair. February 11, 2022. I have installed a voice-activated recorder in her car. The funny thing is, as I listened to what I caught in the recording and realized what happened, my first inclination was to start mentally noting some effects I was about to feel and how to mitigate them. Sleeplessness, PM, and melatonin will help. Nervous, uncontrollable energy, get back to the gym, lack of appetite, knock off those 5 or so pounds I put back on since getting out of the workout habit. Difficult in concentrating, write everything down. Mentally recite the exact procedure for some common task. I forgot about night sweat until they happened. Then it was, oh yeah, this too. Get a few towels and fresh t-shirts, underwear, and stack them in a pile next to the bed. I think those are the worst, especially in the dead of winter. The next reaction was one of relief. No more spy versus spy, marriage police, or investigation. No more walking on eggshells because I don't want to upset her. Before I actually told her I knew, She was treating me like things were wonderful in our life. For the last few months, she was upset over receiving a box of her late mother's things from her dad to sort out. It didn't affect me. I felt no sympathy, grief, or sorrow at seeing her upset. When the confrontation finally occurred, after her prodding and pushing, "What's wrong? Tell me what's bothering you." All I did was say his name and the words, "I know." She got flustered and stormed out of the house. I don't have to worry about her anymore. I don't have to feel on edge while she's around, as if I had to act a certain way or make sure I accomplish certain tasks. Update. As far as the latest developments are concerned, well, something just seemed off. We were getting along a little too well, it seemed. She was almost too nice to me. Things that would normally annoy her suddenly didn't. At first, I thought she was finally happy, but eventually, it nagged at me, and I decided to put on my black sunglasses and trench coat and became the marriage police. I installed voice-activated recorder on her car and got the GPS in there again. I went fishing and I caught something on my first cast. The recording contained 2 phone calls. The first was of him, and she was driving out to meet him. They wound up in a church parking lot. Really? For about 40 minutes. She went to his car, so I was spared having to listen to that. The next call was to her sounding board friend, who lives halfway across the country. If the call to him wasn't enough, and I have no doubt I could have found wiggle room in that if I really wanted to keep my blinders on, then the call to her sealed the deal. The conversation that eventually happened between us was familiar story here. Primarily, gaslighting and blame shifting. Apparently, her affair was my fault because she resents things she never got to do in her life. She didn't go to college or have a wild single life before we got married. And of course, it's my fault, and she resented me for it. I told her I refused to accept her idea that her affair was my fault, and I had told her a while ago that if she wanted out, then let's end it, and she chose to stay. So no, this is all about her. I will accept some responsibility for not being the perfect husband, but I certainly wasn't married to the perfect wife. I certainly didn't deserve this. So I'm calling a few divorced friends for attorney recommendation and any strategic advice that they might have. I am finally ready to end it. I have finally learned my lesson. My wayward wife has shown she doesn't deserve what it takes to reconcile, and I don't want to sign up for another affair in a few months or years. So I'm joining the divorce side. Is there any secret handshake or something I should learn? I am still in the whirlwind of emotion. I have punched a wall. No damage to me or it, thankfully. Screamed F her at the top of my lungs in the house. Nobody else was home, thankfully. And broke down sobbing to my best friend on the phone when he called to see how I was doing. I fantasized about some magical reconciliation that can suddenly happen to her. Would it be so bad if we could stay together? Maybe if I tried a little harder, she would be happy. My head knows this is BS, and the divorce is the right move. I have said it to my mom, the friends I have talked to about this, and myself many times. This last couple of days since D-Day, we have mostly avoided each other, and I missed her terribly. We used to text each other during the day from work, touching base and sharing a bit of our day. She would call me on a break and chit-chat. There were random hugs and kisses at home. All that has stopped, and as I said, we stay away from each other in the house. She's been sleeping on the couch instead of the bed. One of my simple pleasure in the morning was to gently wake her up when our alarm went off by rolling over and rubbing her back or arm and whispering, "Hey honey, it's that time," which was always followed by an almost inaudible which always brought a smile to my face. She hasn't left yet. We haven't split yet. I know what I have to do though. I just know that it won't be easy. Please tell me there's light at the end of this long, dark, lonely tunnel. Our children had the opportunity to travel and do some pretty cool things with their involvement in the school musical group. She's jealous and had said so of them because she never got to do any of that. Newsflash, neither did I. Not jealous, but happy my kids have more than I did. I have spent the last 20 years in a fairly popular local band, and I have had the opportunity to play at some pretty nice events. She's jealous of those opportunities, though she discounts the hours of practice and study it took to get in a place as to be able to do these things. Though I can tell you how many times she shared stories with me of people she had met at work who have heard us or followed us. It's like she feels like a big deal that she's married to one of the members. She even had to talk to someone in the doctor's office she overheard talking about the gig we were doing that night. She complained that I left her alone with the kids when I went out playing. Well, I was working, and I came home with money in my pocket. I did have fun, yes. Playing music in front of people is exhilarating. Slapping gears, dealing with bar owners, staying on top of timing and crowd reaction at work though. Getting up for work at 5 a.m., working a full day, then jigging, and not getting home until 2 a.m. made for a long day. Also not fun. But we needed the money because of the house she wanted to build. Leaving the group was simply not an option. She worked too, but I earned almost as much just gigging as she worked at her regular job, which also pissed her off. And my real job paid 3 to 4 times hers. So I busted my ass to give my family the life I thought they deserved, and what I got was resentment. The old saying of, when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time, is indeed true. It took me too long to see who I married. I came to the same conclusion. If we stay together, I'm signing up for another round. I have gotten a couple of attorney reference and will be setting up appointments soon. I just don't see a path that doesn't end in divorce. There's really nothing left to work with. Funny thing is, people who know her outside of the home think she's a wonderful person. Warm, caring, and a terrific mom. Someone who goes above and beyond to help others. And she does all that. But inside the house, she's what I've told you. She's definitely suffered from what I call the poor me syndrome. He's a co-worker married to another co-worker. I haven't told her family. All she has left is her dad and his sister. I don't really talk to them much, but I will tell him at least at some point. I have reached out to the other betrayal spouse, but she hasn't responded. I will send another email in a couple of days with details and then leave her alone if I don't hear anything back. So tonight, I told her I wanted to divorce. She wanted a hug and cry, but those times were over. She understood. We talked wistfully about how we wish things were different. I asked her, didn't you realize that this was going to happen when you were doing it? She did, but she's still very upset. I feel bad. I still love this woman, but I cannot be with her anymore. I don't want to do this, but I have to. A few years down the road, I will feel better knowing I'm free of her. The band is on hiatus at the moment, but I have got a few irons in the fire to keep me playing. We play classic rock with horns, Chicago and etc. I play trumpet. I have my sights set on that day. I know I'm starting down a rough road, but I am confident I will come out and be in good shape. She kinda left a door open, trying to work things out with her getting counseling, but I shut it down, though I did urge her to get the counseling anyway. The only thing I can blame myself for right now is not ending things earlier. I have done nothing else wrong in the last few years. On the contrary, I have tried to be the model husband and make her the most important thing in my life. And yet here I am again. I keep having these thoughts about how much I want to keep my marriage. But then I remember why I can't. It's a sad thing, really. And as much as anything else, shows me that I am in fact ready to let go. I reached out to the other betrayed spouse via email, but got no response. So at the advice from a different thread, I called her and broke it to her. I have never felt like such a SHIT in my life. I know I didn't do anything but tell her what she needed to know, but she was heartbroken, and I felt like I was responsible. It was like I found out all over again. I broke the poor woman's heart. I know I didn't, but I inflicted the pain of knowledge, and she thanked me. That was not easy to do. I think we talked some more. I will guide her to this site for support too. It has helped me greatly. I also told her that even though we have never met, I will be there for her. She can call or text me anytime. She actually was helpful to me as well. Comparing notes definitely making sense of the situation better. Actually, just got off the phone with her. I feel much better about telling her now. She did thank me. I feel I have done the right thing, as hard as it was. I was very interested in hearing from her about his behavior. He sounded like he may have made up a story of an unhappy marriage to get her sympathy and get closer to her. I'm not for a second discounting her role in this, but she may have been told these things she wanted to hear to get her to do what he wanted her to do. My wife has no idea I exposed the affair partner. 2 families ruined, 6 children looking at the parents and wondering how they could do that to them. Just have her compare paychecks. Didn't think of it, but that's kind of what's been happening. I don't talk to her unless it had to do with the kids or the business of running the house for the most part. I don't stay in the same room as her either. Been very cold in the house lately. She's slowly starting to realize that she's finally gone too far. I am calling lawyers, gathering friends for support, and making plans to get out. I don't think she's quite out of her days yet. I'm distancing myself from her as much as I can. We don't talk unless she starts it, and it's about house, kids, money. I won't stay in the same room as her. Believe me, she's starting to get it. I think she expects me to act like nothing has happened, or to do the pick-me dance. Of course, that was what happened in the past. I didn't really stand up to her and assert my demands to stay together. I was content to let it slip by with a few I'm sorries and a bit more excess. Now I'm doing my best at the 180, and I don't talk to her unless it's regarding the kids or household business. No chit-chat. No how you doing, or tell me about your day. None of that. I think she's having a hard time handling my effectively going hands off on pretty much everything. She's incapable of accepting the blame for her action, choosing instead to play the victim. It's actually a bit sad now. She doesn't realize that why I share blame for problems in the marriage, this falls entirely on her shoulders. I realize the why will never get answered, but the questions will always remain. Tonight was a good night. We, as family, went to my youngest daughter's high school musical. She had a bit of a part and did a really nice job. It was so much fun to see her singing and dancing and just loving every second of it. My wife wound up sitting next to my mom, who knows about everything. My wife doesn't know she knows, but I felt bad for mom because it couldn't be comfortable for her. She was shocked when I told her. She said we always seemed so happy together and genuinely loved my wife like a daughter. Other betrayed spouse texted me during the show. She was concerned about her wayward husband, who she kicked out of the house temporarily before she found out he's staying with a friend, and that friend was gone. She was worried he was entertaining. I was glad I was able to put her mind at rest. Memories haunt me too, as do the mind movies. Every time I wishfully hope we can find a way through this and stay together, I think about how I would just be here again in a few months. I am more and more resolved on divorce. I know that sounds silly at this point. It should be absolutely unquestionable and the only way forward at this point. But I still think back on our life and family and wish we could fix everything and move on. But those moments are just those moments. I guess it's part of the process because they only last for moments. And then the reality that she's not worth staying with reasserts itself. I think that's progress. As the question has been asked here so many times, why? What has caused this seemingly normal person who was brought up in a very Christian home and who is proud and professes her Christianity to do something so utterly abhorrent to the very idea and moral boundaries that learned from her earliest childhood? Why? So the big final finish happened tonight. I tracked her to the parking lot where her car just sat for a while, then went to a store and returned to the lot. As he sat there, I wondered what the hell was going on. I figured she was with him, so I went to check it out. Sure enough, there was her car with his right next to it. I called his wife. We have been talking for a few days now, and she suggested to go say hi and grab a picture, so I did. I told her not to come home tonight. Heading home afterwards, she called me in tears, saying she's sorry. I agreed to let her come and grab her things so she can be gone for a bit. So now all questions are answered, and the story has been written. On to the next phase of this little journey. But not so fast. The DNA results of my 3 children have been sitting in the storage where we store our mail for everyone to collect. I have already forgotten about it. It's been sitting there for a couple of weeks. I don't receive a lot of paper mail, which is why I forgot. Maybe because I didn't care to check, because I thought they were all mine. But unfortunately, my first son isn't mine. I was so shocked to my core. I didn't expect that. She must have been cheating on me during the first years of our marriage. My heart is shattered to different pieces, and I know I have to break the sad news to my children. I am not going to hide secrets from my children. So I told my son last night, lots of hugging, lots of crying. My soon-to-be ex-wife was still out of the house since I caught her having excess with the affair partner in his car. He's not my biological son, but I have raised him, so he is mine. He's 20 and a man that every father would be proud of. He's not ready to confront his mom. I called my soon-to-be ex-wife on her phone and told her about it. All she did was cry and apologize. She said she wanted to come home, but I told her that it would be a good idea for her to remain wherever she is for the foreseeable future. Truth be told, I feel pretty good. DNA or not, he's still my son. I have never been this close to my kids, and I tell them that I love them every day. I actually am more relaxed now, and it was quite the adrenaline rush. It's over. No more lying. No more marriage police. No more worrying about what she's up to. No more walking on eggshells around her. No more any of that. My kids and I are still in recovery. It's going to be difficult, but we are at peace. I am sure in the coming days, weeks, months, we will go through the whole range of emotion, but I see a clear path out of this now. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. Please share your opinion on the comment section and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you and have